You play for the 5th time in Romania. Last time was in 2010 in Constanța. How do you think you'll find public tonight?
How will I find them? I'm going to take a left and walk out on the stage. You know, I never take it for granted when I walk on stage. I can usually feel, before I walk on stage, I can hear them, and I can feel a certain level of intensity, and I hear certain tones that indicate whether there's an excited audience. And still, I never take it for granted that this audience is mine. My job, my profession, my responsibility is to go and deliver something that moves them and makes them feel more excited than listening to the record. I never want people to say, oh, he sounds good for his age. I want people to say, oh, I can't believe how great his voice still sounds. That's a different responsibility, and that goes back to the earlier question, which is having all the high notes, the big notes. And now that I'm saying that, I'm getting nervous because I have to deliver. But it is a level of responsibility. So I'm hoping to find a very, very excited, loud audience tonight.
Do you think that your ballads are so popular today as they were in the 80s?
Do I think what? The ballads. Oh, the ballads. No, I don't think ballads are played as much on the radio. When I listen to Top 40 radio, ballads are not as big anymore, right now, but it's cyclical. Things work in a cycle where a certain type of music, you know, is predominant. You know, we saw this through the years. We've seen it forever, and it goes around and comes around. And melody is coming back, theme, and musical kind of melody in the structure of songs actually is coming back. I've been writing with some young songwriters. I've written with Neo, I've written with Lady Gaga. I just worked with Kid Cudi, and these are, you know, really, really talented people who love melody as well as hip hop and rap. Even hip hop and rap are attaching themselves to melody. A lot of times, of course, they're sampling songs with a lot of melody already. Kanye West and Jay-Z recorded one of my songs, and I think that they appreciate hooks. They appreciate melodic themes that people will remember. Ballads are being played less and less on Top 40 radio. But that's a phase, that's a cycle, and everyone is allowed, each generation is allowed to enjoy what they enjoy. I appreciate it as a producer when I'm listening from a different standpoint than just a fan of music. So I think every generation, you know, deserves to hear what they love. And hopefully it gets better and better.
Well, one more. Okay. One more. Go ahead. Hold on.
Hello, nice to meet you. I've been to the first Michael Bolton concert, and I appreciate very much you've been such a huge success on the radio in the 90s. And one of my favorite memories of you is when you play with Pavarotti. There are a lot of singers who decide to play with Pavarotti, but you are, I think, as a standard of Pavarotti. Do you still interested in opera, and do you want to make such connections between the tenors and you, because your voice is very good?
Well, what I found out, thank you, first of all, thank you very much for what you said. What I found out was that I am a tenor. When I was invited to sing with Pavarotti, I was very excited and I was terrified. I was very nervous. But then when I started studying the arias I was going to perform with him, Nessun Dorma and Vesta la Juba, I realized I am a tenor. And my vocal coach said, these aren't high notes for you, but you have to learn how to hit them and hold the vibrato, and there are certain approaches you have to learn. So I started studying. And I found an incredible body of music that I was not aware of because we didn't listen to classical music as a kid. listen to R&B, I listen to pop, I listen to Bolton. But then, in studying this music, I found some of the most beautiful songs. They're called arias when they come from an opera. And Pavarotti was crucial, was instrumental, because he was very generous with me. And when we were on the phone, I said, I'm very excited to come. He said, well, we are very happy, Michael, to have you as part of our show. And I was just nervous. He said, I was thinking, and he named these arias that I'd never heard. So I paused and I said, well, how would you feel about Nessun Dorma and Vesti la Giuba? There was a silence. He said, brilliant, genius, we shall do that. And I thought, okay, this is great. I know these songs. I knew the melodies. And when we met, he understood that I had listened to his work and respected his talent enormously. I still think he's the greatest tenor ever. So that opened up that world for me. And now during my live shows, I do some classical, a little bit of classical. And I'm planning on touring the world with a symphony orchestra, where I mix the greatest hits, there are about 15 of them, with some of the most beloved music in the world, and definitely some of the songs that the three tenors did, some of the most famous arias that the three tenors performed. So to answer your question, yes, I do plan on integrating some classical, but first and foremost, you have to bring the greatest hits, because that's what people know you for.
Regarding your latest album, you have a lot of collaborations on it. How did you choose the artist?
I closed my eyes. No. Well, we did have a lot of choices. I've done the duets, the Gems album, where I found I didn't realize that there were, young fans who in their teens were hearing my music all the time. And so they were going through the most important becoming years, as growing up years, listening to my music as kind of the soundtrack of their lives. And they were big fans, so all of a sudden we would reach back and say, like the Delta Gudrun in Australia, or Helene Fischer in Germany, Kelly Rowland on the new album, Ain't the Mountain High Enough, Kelly Rowland and Melody Fiona, multi-Grammy winner. They were big fans, and they were really excited to meet me, and I was just listening to their music to become familiar with it. Kelly Rowland I've known for quite some time. But then you find you can do those duets in that part of the world, but then when you go to Asia, there are two other young artists who are excited about singing. And because we're in the digital world of music, we can send them the tracks and upload them perfectly, sonically, perfectly, and have them just step in and sing. And so I have duets with Agnes Monaco, who's a huge artist in Jakarta, Indonesia, different duet artists in Australia, different ones in England, in Germany, and the United States, two different ones. We find them by friends who are in the business, who we just reach out to, and I say, I have to know the range of their voice, because some of the songs are higher than others and more demanding. But I've been very fortunate to have some phenomenal female artists come and join me on these records. And short of that, the Lady Gaga duet was a collaboration, wasn't quite a duet. She sang background on one of the songs that we wrote together. But I had never heard of her because her album didn't come out yet. Her album came out 3 months after we wrote together. And it was exciting because she was ready for it. And her album was about to come out. Just Dance was about to hit the streets. And I could tell she was going to be a very big artist. So it was fun kind of catching her in that stage of just about launching, just about liftoff. And seeing someone with that kind of talent, but that kind of work ethic. The work ethic is what makes it all pay off. You can't do it without having a strong disciplined mentality towards the work that it really takes to have a career. And so now I also meet these artists, and they want the same thing. They want to be singing all of their lives, not one hit or 2 hits. They want long careers. So they come to me sometimes for advice, and I say, well, come on the road with us, come on a tour. That'll help you. And it's been amazing. It really has.
Okay.
Ioana Pavel, National Television, Romanian National Television. Welcome back here.
Thank you very much.
First of all, because you began as a rock artist, as far as I remember, I was curious, how did you make these changes? Because I've heard you singing this kind of songs. After this, there were ballads and opera, and because your voice allowed you, I was curious about jazz, if you ever tried to play jazz, and because tonight in the opening there are going to be Diana Matei and Taraful Pleante. I was curious if you know this kind of music, and if you like it, and if you'd like to play and sing this kind of songs.
Well, I am going to, I did hear some beautiful music last night. Is that basically the traditional?
Well, that's traditional, yes.
Yeah, which was fantastic. And of course, we had extraordinary musicians. They were like virtuosos. Like between 3 or 4 people, they sounded like an orchestra. I told my band that they're about to lose their jobs. 3 of these guys could replace 10. So, I'm just kidding. Tonight, I'll be there. I'm going to be there early, so I'm going to hear our opening performer, Diana Matei, and I'm really looking forward to it. I met her, but I did not get to hear her music yet. So I'll be there because I'll be going early to the show.
What about jazz?
Jazz. The closest thing, I love and I appreciate jazz music. I haven't really recorded true jazz. I've recorded big band music, which is very much jazz influenced. Big band swing. There's a lot of the greatest jazz players have recorded a lot of these songs, but I have not done quite a jazz album yet. I've recorded a blues album that I haven't finished and put out yet. So I still have a few other steps to get there. And I started out, before rock, I was playing blues as a kid, and I was doing American R&B, and we may get around to jazz. It's one of the most difficult, one of the most demanding forms of music. I think a genre where it requires a musician to be maybe the best musician there is a jazz musician with any instrument, piano, guitar. But I'm not there yet, where I'm looking and saying, yeah, it's time to do a jazz album. I'm not seeing that yet on my horizon. Not yet.